Oh, hello. We Hi, everybody. I'm Amanda Call. This is my channel, and it's the Tuesday night art stream time. We're still working on this comic page. As you can see, if you have been following along, I have gotten some of the rocks done since last week. Not a lot of them, but a few of them. That's slightly less rocks that I have to do on stream now. But yes, this is chapter 28, page 26 of my webcomic, Age of Night. And this page has lots of rocks on it. This is our 5th session working on this particular page. So I've actually been working on the rocks a little bit before we went live, so I'm gonna step away from those for a second. We have just a little bit of this character's armor to do here, so I'm gonna get out my French curve, try to finish these last couple of little swoops. Whoop. Swoop, swoop, swoop. There we go. Connect those lines. Looking good. We're going to add some shading to this stuff. So how has everybody been? How has your week been since last we were all together here? Hey, someone saying, how you doing? Tired, about ready to fall asleep. Yeah, that's a mood. This week has been a without my post dinner power nap, I don't know what I would do type of week. And it's only Tuesday. But what have I been up to this past week since the last time we were all here? At least it's not Monday. That's true. It could be Monday. So I did not have an event this past week, which was nice. I did have like day job related stuff. I had to go to an elections class, which was like a huge class of like over 200 different people who work for towns in Maine. And we were all getting a little refresher on running elections since we've got one coming up. It was very informative, only a little bit stressful when I think about, oh no, I have to actually be in charge of an election. Oh my gosh. Only a little bit of finding out, oh, I guess we didn't do that exactly the way that we should have. Not that we did anything like bad, but there was stuff that it's like, well, this is the best procedure. Oh, okay. Good to know. We'll fix that going forward. Get some of this weird, creepy texture going on back here. Yeah, kept me super duper. It's gonna keep me super duper busy. And then next year, I guess we're having like 3 elections. I'm just like, "Oh, no." So many. Alright, how do I wanna do this? We're gonna do a little bit of this situation. Hey, Spud. Hope you're doing well. Also this past weekend, I didn't have, like, anywhere I had to go in particular, so I was just like, a weekend where I can kind of get some stuff done around the house, and then also, got to go to my local brewery's Oktoberfest celebration. That was very good. It was very nice to just hang out for an afternoon and enjoy the lovely weather and a very large stein of beer and German fare food and live music. It was a good time. They had Chris Ross come and play. If you're not familiar, he is a Maine musician. He had a couple of like moderate radio hits. I'm not sure like how much of a splash they made outside of Maine because obviously like, hey, Hungry. Hope you're doing well. Obviously, like in Maine, they played his stuff a lot, and I've seen him perform live a whole bunch because like he lives around here, so it's easy for me to catch his shows. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure how much anyone outside of the state of Maine knows about him. Like, how are you doing today, Hungry? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it's Alan. It's an Alan Barr. Sup, nerds? Hey, everybody. If you haven't seen, Alan has a Kickstarter for a comic that's up right now. It's called Ring Breaker. You should go check it out. I've read the first issue and it's very good. And I'm working on a variant cover for it. It's very cool. It's very cool. It's very cool and you should check it out. It's on Kickstarter right now. And it's from what are you calling your comic publishing imprint? Hyperstar? Something like that? I want to say I don't have it open in front of me, so I don't remember off the top of my hand if that's right. Ah, I did get it right. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Amazing. My brain actually summoned up the information I wanted to. But yes, I'm working on a variant cover that'll be available to look at soon. And the first issue is up on Kickstarter, and it's very cool and very good. And you should go and check that out and maybe consider backing it. It's fantasy, adventure, magic, kind of a Vikingish setting. It's very fun. Now Alan's gonna comment, "No, you're misrepresenting my comic. What are you doing? That's not it at all." And yes, we're gonna work on rocks for a little bit again. I'll try to just do short little rock sprints, not do a bunch of these. Oh, yeah, but anyway, as I was saying about, the Oktoberfest celebration that I went to. So, my brewery does a fest beer every autumn for Oktoberfest, and it's very good. I had a very large, delicious stein of it and uh, enjoyed Chris Ross performing. Who, if you do not know who he is, because like I said, I do not know how much of an impact he made outside of the state of Maine, because I live here and that's where he was very popular. So, and he's from this area, so I'm not sure like how many people also know of him, but you should look him up on like Spotify. It's very good. But he was like playing. They have like a little beer garden area, and so he was playing on the little stage in the beer garden, and we're hanging out in the beer garden, enjoying the nice afternoon sun, and my kids are, being children and getting kind of bored just hanging around. They ate their little like soft pretzel and we're just like, okay, time to run around now. And so they went over to where there's like this ping pong table as well. And they're like, we're gonna play ping pong. My children don't know how to play ping pong. They're terrible at this. They got neither myself nor my husband are at all athletic, and our children have followed suit. None of us are coordinated. None of us are athletic. And so they're playing ping pong is mostly just like throwing the ping pong ball at each other, and then the other one will like make a wild swing for it, and maybe it'll connect, and the ping pong ball will just go like flying off into some random direction, or the ping pong ball will just bounce off the table and they'll never come in any more contact with it, and then they have to go chase the ping pong ball. That's just what they were doing. Well, at one point, they're doing this, and the ping pong table is like very close to the stage, which seems like poor planning on the part of the brewery. But, you know, what you don't usually have people playing ping pong while someone is on the stage performing, unless you're my feral children. And so at one point, when they're doing this, like flinging the ping pong ball thing around, it just like wings across the stage like a few inches from him. And consummate professional, he does not flinch. I can see that he sees it. Like I see his eyes kind of follow it as it rolls across the stage. And I'm just like, oh no, this is not happening. And the kids, thankfully, had the presence of mind because like I wasn't right next to them, and I'm not gonna like jump up and be like rah at them in the middle of this whole setting. They had the presence of mind to not run across the stage after it. They waited for it to finish rolling across the stage, and then they walked around the stage and went and got it from the other side. And uh, Chris Ross never stopped what he was doing. Didn't say anything. Didn't miss a beat. Quite literally, did not miss a beat. And I'm just like slightly mortified because everybody knows these are my kids who just did this. I live right up the road from this brewery. They know they're my kids. I'm just like, and so after the show, when he was getting ready to leave, and I go up and I'm like, hey, great performance as always, man. And sorry, my kids flung a ping pong ball at you. He's like, it's fine. You got to be ready for anything. It's like, it kind of reminded me of like, the scene in Roadhouse where they're behind the chicken wire and they're like flinging beer bottles at him. He's like, it was like that, except the most PG version of it possible. I'm glad he had a good sense of humor about it and wasn't like, get your freaking kids out of here, lady. But come on, you guys. Come on. Why don't I set all my comics in a desert? I don't know. Would make my life much easier. I did like 1.5 chapters in the desert. Should really do more chapters in the desert. Sorry, everybody. We're going back to the desert forever. Nothing but a horizon line and a couple of little dots in the foreground, and then we're done. Pro comic plotting. Let's see. How do I change my plot to make a background that I do not hate myself for having to draw? How can we make this happen? Okay, we got some more progress on rocks. We did some more rocks. The void. Oh man, I love when I get to work in the void. I love every time that Drake enters like the dream sorcery cast fog. I did a one chapter that was a couple scenes were all foggy. A couple chapters back. It was actually harder to pull off fog and like have it actually look like fog than I thought it was. Like I think it did okay, but I feel like there are some parts where it doesn't really read as fog. Like you wouldn't necessarily realize that was what was going on if it weren't for the dialogue of characters being like, "Oh no, we can't see. This fog rolled in," that sort of thing. In a black and white comic anyway. I feel like that might be easier to pull off in like a color comic where you could just do the background. It's like it's all gray. See? Fog. Do like little like a brush effect, filter effect kind of thing over the bottom of the frame. Be like, "Ah, yes, fog." All right, let's do. Oh, it's just rocks everywhere. Rocks everywhere. We'll come down here for a minute and do different rocks. Still rocks, just different rocks. Oh, so the other neat thing about Oktoberfest, why I really enjoy going to that one, other than it's just nice to spend an afternoon in the sun listening to live music. But also they do German fare because they have like a kitchen with really good food. Um, and so usually they do German fare during Oktoberfest, and I really love German food because, in case you hadn't noticed, my last name, Call, I'm from a very German family, and that's stuff that I grew up eating, and I really enjoy it. And it's not like the type of food that you find as much in like you don't see a lot of like German restaurants in my area. You get like other different ethnic cuisines, but not so much German. So I'm always excited when I get a chance to have some German food that I don't have to cook myself. However, like a lot of it is really good because their kitchen staff is really good, their chef is really good. It's just delicious. But I have to have a very firm conversation with him at some point about the definition of sauerkraut because they keep serving this stuff and calling it sauerkraut, and that's not what it is. It's not what it is, buddy. It's just not. It was like last year he basically just served like a white cabbage and like a pickle dressing. It had like a vinegar and like a salt and vinegar and spice type dressing on it, which was fine. It tastes good, but it's not sauerkraut. And then this year, it was just like there wasn't really as much of like the pickle flavor, but it was still obviously just like in some kind of super salty dressing. And I'm just like, this is still not sauerkraut, my dude. Like, what is okay? I'd probably just draw the characters from the knees up and dash out the lower legs into nothingness, and a few cloudy shapes to hint at fog. Yeah, it was I kind of did some of that, something kind of like that. Or a comic of disembodied voices. It's just voices floating in the black. Anytime that Drake is in like the dreamland type thing when he's talking to the avatars, and it's just like him floating in the blackness and, like, one other character, and they're just kinda floating around in the dark, and I'm just like, "Yes, these are the easiest pages to draw." Uh, so in case you don't know or are at all curious, it might just be me who cares, but sauerkraut is a fermented food. It's not actually sauerkraut if you don't let it ferment. And when it ferments, that's what gives it its delightful and complex flavor. And it's clearly not just cabbage that's been dressed in like brine. Like you ferment it in brine, but you can't just like dress cabbage in brine and then be like, that's sauerkraut, because it's not, though. It's not actually sauerkraut if it hasn't fermented. It's it's not It's not how that works. It's a fermented food. You can't call it that if that's not if it hasn't gone through that, like, chemical process. Which also, I mean, I get why they usually make all of their stuff in-house, like, they make all of their sauces and dressings and stuff, and so I get why they maybe have not, like, taken the plunge on that because it takes, like, a minimum of 6 weeks to actually make sauerkraut. Um, and it's a little bit, like, scary if you've never done it before. The first time I did it a couple of years ago, and I've had like crap cabbage harvests the last couple of years, so I haven't gotten to do it again in a while. But we also used to do it all the time. Like my dad would do it all the time when I was growing up. So I have been adjacent to the process more times than I've done it solo. But when you do it solo the first time, it's like really kind of terrifying because you're just like, so I just take this cabbage and a bunch of salt, and I just put it in a room temperature bucket for like a month and a half, and this is fine. And it's like, well, yeah, if you don't screw it up, it's fine. And if you do screw it up, enjoy your food poisoning. Like, so I can get it. I can get not wanting to try to do that yourself and also not wanting to just buy a industrial sized thing of silver floss and serve that up. I get all of that. But then don't call it sauerkraut because that's not what it is. Okay. That's the end of my annoying food rant. More rocks, more rocks. What else has been going on? Oh yeah, I also just yesterday I got set up at Maine Micro Artisans, which is a artist co-op type consignment shop where there's lots of different Maine artists and crafters who all have a bunch of their work at this kind of gift shop type gallery type space. And it's actually in the Bangor Mall, which is nice and convenient because as much as I love going downtown, it's not always all that convenient. And that's where usually this type of place would live, but this one lives in the mall. Um, and there's a ton of really cool work from a bunch of different local artists. And now they have some of my prints and my Age of Night books. And the person who runs it is very cool. They used to run one of my favorite cafes downtown before it was unfortunately killed by the pandemic because a lot of places were. But I'm very excited about that, and there's so much cool stuff there. I was just looking around when I dropped my work off yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna come back here and do, like, all my Christmas shopping here. This is so neat." It is not slow cooked cabbage, no. So you can slow cook cabbage, that's totally fine, but sauerkraut is specifically like what makes it sauerkraut and not cabbage is that it is fermented. It is fermented by basically taking a bunch of cabbage and salt, like, and those are the only ingredients, is just cabbage and salt, and you put them in traditionally a crock, like a ceramic crock, but you can also use like a like food grade plastic bucket, and you like cover the top so that stuff isn't getting in it, and you like put pressure on it so you create like an anaerobic environment, and then you just leave it at room temperature for an extended period of time, and usually around 6 weeks or so. And it'll go through like a whole bunch of chemical changes during this time where the cabbage will actually like ferment and no longer be the same like substance anymore exactly. And the high concentration of salt it keeps it safe basically, and the fact that you've created like an anaerobic environment creates for the cabbage keeps it safe. The surface of the water you do have to like be cleaning every day because obviously the surface is going to try to like grow stuff from the air, and it needs to be covered in like cheesecloth or something similar over top of the crock so that it doesn't have stuff like fall in it and contaminate it. But at the end of this actually like changes the cabbage so that it's not just like it's not actually cooked. It's fermented. It's not exactly the same anymore. It's gone through a whole process like when you ferment grains to make alcohol. It's an entire chemical process that I do not understand all the ins and outs of because I'm not actually a food scientist. I just know that that's what you do to make it sauerkraut. And then after it's fermented, then you can take it out and you can can it. And that's usually how you do it like at home. Um, but yeah, it is an actual like thing unto itself, not just slow cooked cabbage. Don't get me wrong, I love slow cooked cabbage. I love all sorts of cabbage. But it's not sauerkraut if it's not fermented. But yeah, if people are in the Bangor area, definitely check out Maine Micro Artisans because it's so cool. And I want them to do well because it's nice to have like an actual storefront where you can get so many cool local things. Oh, yeah. And during the whole fermenting process, there are also several points at which it smells very bad. So you don't want to do this in like your kitchen. Aside from the fact that it would probably be periodically too warm in your kitchen because you also have to like make sure the temperature is just so, or else it will just go bad. Um, I've done it out here in my studio, and so for like a couple of weeks in the middle of the process, it just smelled like cabbage farts out here. It was very unpleasant. But once that part of the process is passed, and then it's like, oh, it smells good in here. Now it smells like food. But yeah, for a little while, it smells not very good. And every time that my dad did this when I was a kid, he would put the freaking sauerkraut crock at like the bottom of the stairs right outside my room. So I had like a loft room, and that's where he would put the bucket. So all the nasty cabbage fart smells were just wafting up into my room. Thanks, Dad. All cabbage smells bad to you. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I personally love cabbage, but I can understand it's like it's a powerful scent and it's a powerful flavor, so I can understand it just not being a thing that you really enjoy. It's not like some food where it's just like, "Ah, you just put, like, this type of dressing or whatever on it, and now it tastes like something totally different, and you don't even notice what it actually is." Like, "Oh, no, no. You're gonna know that it's cabbage. It's a thing. Eat it in certain things, but it smells bad." You like galapagos? Galapagos, yep. Those are delicious. Good stuff. All the rocks. We're at least getting to the point that this panel of rocks is almost there. Whoop. There was nothing on my pen. Father slow cooks sausage and sauerkraut every New Year. Sounds good. After living in the South, I adopted the tradition of doing black-eyed peas and cabbage and cornbread on New Year's for prosperity in the new year. Also because that's all stuff that I think is delicious. So I'll usually make like Hoppin' John and cornbread. So good because that has all of that. We do peas, but not the other. Yeah, the black-eyed peas, it's black-eyed peas for coins, collard greens for like dollars, and cornbread for gold is the explanation I have heard. But also just like it's delicious. So why not? That explains why I'm poor. I mean, I did it for many years and was still poor too, so maybe it takes a while. I don't know. Oh, out of ink again. Whoops. Oh, almost there with this one. So close. All little rocks. So as you can see, as the rocks are getting further back, I'm kind of going in with a lighter touch where there's the shadows are not quite as dark and the line work is not as bold because we want the ones that are further back to push back. That helps to enhance that feeling of depth. That way too, they're not like competing against his face, which just happens to be how it works out in this composition. Because I don't really want the rocks to be competing against his face. I want you to be able to look at his face and not be like, where is his face? I just see a jumble of rocks. Finish filling in all the dots. We only have this tiny little space up here left to fill in with rocks. And ta-da! Yay! One entire background of rocks complete anyway. I only have, like, 2 more that aren't anywhere near done yet. Goodness gracious. Okay. Tea break. Time to take a sip of tea. Alright, we're gonna back up here. We're gonna work up in this area for a little bit. Gonna get these little, like, rocky walls with some of the creepy vine situations going on here. Celebrating. Someone saying is celebrating the panel, I take it? I didn't look up right away, so I'm guessing that's when that came up. Whoops. Yeah, okay, cool. Yes, we're making progress. Sometimes these backgrounds, man, you gotta take any kind of success you can. Celebrate every little bit that you manage to get done. Okay, all sorts of creepy vine situation going on there. Now we need some texture. Give us some depth back in here. Just trying to slowly build up some of this tone, not let it get too heavy, because there's already a lot of heaviness going on with all of those vines back in there. And again, this is a little bit away from our focus. We don't want it to be popping too far forward. Okay. Yay. Got those little walls done. I'm going to get this the little wall of vegetation here. No, it's not going to stay looking like that, I promise. It's just me kind of giving myself some guidelines. It's not. Yep. Good enough. I'm done. Just going to leave it. Totally done. I can feel my pen is getting gunky. We need to clean that. This is one of these pages when people ask me, like, how long does it take you to do one of these comic pages? And it's like, well, I mean, you all have seen me complete plenty of pages in like 4 or 5 hours, like entirely on stream. And we get through like the whole thing, or maybe I have like 10 minutes of work left on them or something. But then we have one like this, where it's like, this freaking page is probably going to take me at least 7 hours. How do I store my nibs when I'm done using them? So I just kind of like have a jar, and I just kind of leave everything sitting out in their little handles. I don't use too many different types of nibs. I only use like 3. And so it's just whatever one I'm using, it just kind of sits in the, and I also use them a lot. So I'll clean it off with just some water and my paper towel and make sure it's nice and dry, and then I just stick it in the pen cup. Nib up so that I'm not bending it out of shape. Because they're usually made with just like kind of mediocre metal, you just kind of want to make sure that you don't leave them sitting around wet. So just make sure you dry them before you either set them in a pen cup or set them in like a box or whatever. I use these frequently enough. I just leave them out in a pen cup so that I can get to them very quickly. I don't have to like dig around for them when I need them. And before I use them, they usually are just in the little plastic baggies that they came from the art supply store or website from in a drawer, along with a bunch of other art supplies. All right, we're in the last 10 or so minutes of the stream. I'm going to do the YouTube things and remind you I'm Amanda Call. This is my channel. If you like watching me work on comic pages and other art, you should like the channel. Well, you should like the video and subscribe to the channel, and that way you'll know whenever I go live or otherwise upload a video. I am usually going live every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern. Sometimes I don't get to because life or whatever, but I then will like make a post in the community tab and social media and everything to let you know. So that's another good reason to subscribe, because then if I am gonna miss, you will be notified. Do you clean them before using them for the first time? Yeah, so they've got like an oil on them. So you just kind of want to make sure that you wash and wipe them down really thoroughly the first time you use them. And you can use a little bit of soap or you can use a little bit of pen cleaner, but basically the first time if you just dip them in water and swish them around and like dry them off really well with a paper towel, that's going to rub all that oil off. If you dip it in ink and notice that the ink is just kind of like beading on it, then you're going to want it, then it still has oil on it. So you want to make sure that you clean it again. And maybe you can use soap, or maybe you can use pen cleaner, or you just go at it with water and the paper towel again until you don't have the oil until you don't have the ink doing that weird beading thing showing you that there's oil on it. Because yeah, they do have a very thin, light coating of oil coming from the factory. But it's pretty easy to get off. But that is a good thing to bring up because I don't even think about it anymore. I'm just like, oh yeah, new pen tip. Dip it in the water, wipe it off. I don't even like think about why I do it. I just do. So thank you for pointing that out, because I totally forgot about that. Totally forgot to mention that. But yeah, this comic page that I am working on is from my webcomic, Age of Night, which you can read online for free at ageofnight.com. That's AGEOFNIGHT.com. Updates just about every Wednesday. You can read the whole thing online for free, but you can also support me different ways. You can support me by following me on Patreon. That's patreon.com/ageofnight. Patrons get all of their comic updates a week early, in addition to getting to see other behind the scenes stuff, getting free comics for signing up, all sorts of cool stuff like that. And it helps just support me, and I really appreciate it. So there's that too. You can follow me on the various social medias. I am either Amanda Call Art or Age of Night on like all of them, the ones that I'm active on. Some of them I have an account and I'm just not super active because social media is exhausting. But it's a good place to get updates of when I'm going live or when there's a new comic page up, or if I'm going to be doing any shows or anything like that. Which, speaking of, I don't have anything coming up this weekend, but the weekend after is the Bangor Sidewalk Art Festival in Bangor, Maine. I have a spot confirmed for that now. I will be there. That's October 7th. The earlier show of that this year was very fun. I'm looking forward to it again because it was a good time and there's lots of really cool stuff there. And as long as the weather is nice, then it'll be a very good time because it's an outdoor festival. So the weather is always kind of the X card there, like the X factor there. You just don't know what's going to happen there. But anyway, so that's pretty much going to do it for this evening. We got a lot more progress on the inks. There's more rocks inked in this whole panel of rocks. These rocks take forever. I appreciate you being patient with me while I work on them. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with me, and I will see you next time. Bye.